he goes into the back of Webb.
What did we just witness?
In improbable fashion, Cooper Webb has won the Arlington Supercross.
Just in disbelief like everyone else.
I think that disbelief is the common thread of the 2025 SMX World Championship Series. Hello, everybody. Monday, February 24, 2025. We're glad to be out here with you guys today. Myself, Ryan Villopoto. Welcome to Title 24, presented by NBC Sports. Before we get going, we got an awesome show today. I am stoked. Some heartfelt stories as well coming up. You guys are going to love it. But before we get going, United Motorsports, Quad Lock Case, Boxo, Dunlop, thank you guys for the support. We'll have all of our segments of our great sponsors through today's show. And I'm going to kick it off right off the bat. It was so special to watch, but I want to hear what it was like from your standpoint, RV. The United Motorsports moment of the night. Brax Villopoto gets the KJ SX, KJ Junior SX win of the weekend. Go for it, brother.
Yeah, man, it was a really special weekend for the whole family, and especially Brax as we're watching him come off the start there, control that first turn. And man, it was he had a good practices all day. Just dealing. The two of them are just so different, and with Brax, just he rode well. I told him, hey, you have a very, very good shot at making it on the podium, if not winning this thing, if you get a start. And man, he's one that listens. You may not think he's listening very much, but doesn't do a ton of arguing about the motorcycle and things like that, what I'm telling him to do, and unlike the other one. But yeah, he executed his start and held off first or second and third, for the 3 laps. He was under pressure the whole time. So it was really, really good for him from a confidence level, and just an all out racing level was good for him to be in that position. And he held it together, man. And as a dad and, being in that position, it was really, really cool to see.
So you talk about that win and what it was like, and I think about what it was like with Gage at Glendale, and what you guys had learned, and what Gage learned in that experience, and then and maybe is there something that you think that maybe Brax learned from watching his brother at Glendale that he was able to pay forward this weekend, or probably not?
Yeah, no, I think so. I think obviously they're very competitive. And Gage thinks, motocross for Gage is kind of like life, and Brax likes to ride, but also likes to do other things. Typically Gage is always outside riding his TTR 50, and Brax will come inside and go outside and ride a little bit, come back in and play video game or this or that or whatever, play cards with my mom. And Gage is just always outside. So he doesn't just totally breathe it, live it at this point. So, but what I think it did help was watching how the process went at Phoenix for Gage. And then also Gage not winning, he looked at it from the standpoint as like, hey, well, my brother didn't win. I have a shot at winning this thing. And just bragging rights coming home as every dog has its day, and Brax had it there at Arlington, and it was really amazing to see.
Yeah, it was cool. I mean, everybody was watching, tuned in. I mean, dude, you're a 4-time Supercross champ. You're one of the best guys that ever has raced a motorcycle. And so, I mean, it might not have you might not have seen it from your standpoint, RV, but a lot of people were tuned in and watching, not only you, but Brax as well. And it was really cool, and just pulling for him, and how special it is to do that. And I watching you in that scenario, I mean, dude, I love to see the intensity. I mean, you might try to play it off like, hey, whatever they want to do, but at the same time, you're like, hey, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it right. But I love your intensity there, dude. And
no, it's tough. It's a fine line it's a fine line you have to walk at each of these kids at 8 years old, and being tough on them when they need to be tough on them. But also, when we're sitting on the line there, I said, just put your best foot forward and ride the way you can ride. And wherever you end up at this point is where you end up. This is all new scenarios for them. both of them. And for me is if I can tell that you're riding well and riding to your potential, then that's all that I can ask for. And executing the things that we talked about, right? The things that I tell each of them is and what that was really good to see, because everything that I had talked to Brax about all day, especially once we lined up for the main event, executing that start was huge for him. As you know, it's very hard to pass. It's only 3 laps. They're all on those electric e-bikes, and there's not a lot of horsepower difference or this or that. It's a very, very equal program that KGSC has, which is really cool. But executing what I had talked to him about doing all day was really, really good to see.
That's awesome. Hey, we got some questions. We got a lot of questions on our Title 24 Instagram as we were kind of funneling through it. JH was funneling through some of them. A ton on Brax's dub this weekend, but SMX producer for the broadcast, Chris Bondo. He had a really cool question. I loved it. What he asked, Bondo says, what is the family dynamic going to be like after Brax got the win in Arlington? And I text you this yesterday. I'm like, dude, like, is Gage like kind of bummed because he didn't win, but is he happy that his brother won? Like, bittersweet. So like, what's the vibe like at the Villopoto house?
Yeah, no, I think he was happy to see his brother win, but also he was bummed. Like, for sure, you could see afterwards. I asked him, we got back to the hotel, and I'm like, you need to, like, what's going on? He goes, I'm just jealous. I'm jealous that Brax won. And on one hand, I told him, I said, jealousy will breed hatred. Number one, can't be jealous, but what you can do is turn that jealousy into like making yourself better. I said, we have a race coming up this weekend out at ACP in Arizona. And I said, you can give me your best right there. You can show me what you have. So I actually think it's going to elevate Brax's racing and riding, but it's also going to push Gage to be better too, because obviously the brother competition inside of it, we see it with Hunter, we see it with Jet. It's obviously I have twins. There's a bit of an age gap between Hunter and Jet. And then obviously James and Malcolm being brothers too, big age gap there. It's very rarely are they the same exact age racing the same exact class at the same time. So I'm hoping to see elevate their racing and their riding and their want for more. Neither of them have won a big stage event. That is the biggest stage event that we've been on that we have won. So I'm hoping that's kind of like that, that new shiny thing, that the butterflies, all the things that we, as all of us as racers, learn to love, is the pressure and the winning. So I'm hoping that's what, kind of kicks him in the ass now of like, hey, this is what we're doing. This is, you guys chose this. I didn't push you into this, but we're going to do it at a high level when we do it. And now I'm hoping that kind of lights the fire underneath of each of them.
Yeah, that's cool. Like, you just made me think of like, Brax, like he wants to do it, but he's not all in like Gage is. And like, maybe this is the thing, like now he's got a sniff of it. So maybe he'll be as intense as into it as Gage. One last question from the fans. S Reets 711. RV, do the boys battle each other or push each other? Are they similar in speed and form? S Reeds, hold on, I'm going to answer one question. So when I saw them at Glendale, RV, you were doing something. I think you were in your rig, but the boys had their little electric bikes. I can't remember what you brought. And I don't know, like Brax's bike was like low on charge or something like that. And so he had it on its side and he was trying to pull the battery cover off, and Gage comes over there and he's like, get out of the way, Brax, get out of the way. And I'm like, I didn't see the wife anywhere around. You weren't around. And dude, he was just like full on taking charge of his little brother, and like Brax would get in there and he's like, here, let me do it. And Gage's like, get out of here. I'll get it, Brax. Okay. Anyhow, long story short, brotherly love. He got his little brother's bike or his twin brother's bike going. And it was cool. So I think that there is some pushing going on, dude. They're twins. They're twin boys, as Reets. There's going to be some battles, but RV, from your standpoint, I'm really like, I'm kind of like curious of the last question. Are they similar in speed and form? Like, tell us the difference, like between Gage and Brax and what you see in their riding styles.
Yeah, so very, very different. Brax is very smooth, doesn't push it very often, and especially during the week when we do, our riding or training and just going out, like he kind of does himself always. And Gage is always kind of looking around. What's this guy doing? What's Brax doing? What's this? And makes more mistakes. I kind of look at as Brax as almost like rides a little more like Dunge or Marvin, very smooth, hits his lines, doesn't do anything crazy. But then you'll turn over and you'll look at Gage and you're like, wow, that was sick. But then you're like, dude, that was a massive mistake also afterwards. Like, so it's so hot and cold with Gage sometimes. And then Brax just does Brax all the time. And then when you put him in, I've put him in a few situations where you're like, dude, where did that come from? And that was one of those Saturday nights, at Arlington there, like, where did that come from? He got a good start, put himself in a good position. And I think that was what he needed to kind of go to that next little level. The next step for him was to ride well, get a good start, put himself in a good position and not falter under the pressure, because he went through, there was two second and third, like I said, second ended up running into the back of him and going down, and then third caught him and put him under a bunch of pressure again. He was under pressure the entire 3 laps, and he held strong and just did himself. If I were to put Gage in that situation, I would only imagine we would have seen more mistakes from Gage, just because I think he tries also a lot harder, and tries to look cooler, I think, too, while he's trying to go fast.
Well, congratulations to Brax Villopoto on his win. That was huge on the main stage. Everyone at Title 24 Brax are pumped for you. Everyone that watches RV and I's pod or listens to the pod, go follow him on Instagram. Tell him congratulations. Gage has his own Instagram, and so does Brax. So give him a follow and tell him congratulations. Follow their career along. They're cool little kids. And congrats. Yeah, congrats to you, RV, you and Kristen. That's a core memory right there, dude.
It is. It's one of the biggest stages at 8 years old. Like, I never walked into a stadium until I was already 14, 15 years old, let alone down on the floor. But the program that KTM has with the KGSC group, and getting these kids at 8 years old to get down on the floor and race in front of a crowd like that on the biggest stage of their career, where they all want to end up in the end. We all want to end up as racers. You all want to end up inside the stadium, racing in front of all those fans and doing well. So it's a great program.
Yep. That's I think that's our best United Motorsports moment of the night this season so far. So congratulations again. A great B-roll too, Aaron.
Yeah.
By the way,
that's more than I saw, because I was down on the floor. Those mechanics, they get the short end of the stick when you're a mechanic.
You got to relive it right there. United Motorsports, go to unitedmotorsports.com/title24, enter your email and get a $15 credit towards your first purchase. And then you'll be automatically entered into the weekly drawing for a $50 credit on your next order. Really cool. So thank you guys at United Motorsports. You all are great people. As far as Arlington goes, some quick thoughts on the track. Hanna 111. Did you find the track layout oversimplified? Where are the triples we used to have? Did you find it? How'd you find it?
So Hanna 111. I thought the track was technical. Especially like, when you're trying to change directions. I know, like, we had a triple for the finish line, which is not very typical for us. Typically it's just a double, which I thought that was kind of cool. It was a triple into the right hander. But anytime you got those start straights that are on an angle and on a lean like that, it makes it tough. Those big 450s and the power they're laying down, like anytime you open the throttle, they want to go wide. So you want to keep it in. I thought it was technical, but also slowed down. As we're watching a replay right here, we got Justin Cooper that we just circled on the inside. Looks like he's going to be grabbing the whole shot here. I thought it was a technical track. It wasn't super fast. And I saw passing throughout the night too. So,
yep.
I know the fans and you guys like to ask questions about the track as racers, and everybody that lines up on the line. Like, yes, we may look at the track map, but we essentially all know that, everybody on the line has to race the same track and has to and has to deal with whatever challenges are out there. So from the track standpoint, like I know the fans ask a lot of track questions, but the riders really don't. Very often do you see, oh, I hate, sure you get some of them like I didn't like the track or this, but as a whole, most of the riders are like, yeah, it's just another track. And that's the way from my standpoint, and I'm sure for yours, Ricky's like, we've raced so many laps around so many different tracks, so many different dirt conditions, different layouts, different combinations. And I thought SMX track crew did a good job at designing that track once again.
I did too. And just so everybody knows, in RV, we've talked about it a couple times. Listen, that crew, SMX track crew, they do a really good job in working hard to trying to find that balance of what races well, what will be multi-line, what will be somewhat challenging, and also what will be safe. Dude, it's hard to get it right. And again, the different soils that they're working with, like what RV was talking about. I never used to look at, maybe I would look at the track layout, say the week before, and we didn't have the technology that we have in media and computers and all that stuff. So it was like, you just looked at the actual track map on paper, right?
Yep.
So but I wouldn't put too much emphasis on it because like you said, dude, it all depended on what the dirt was like. If it was soft, well, then some combination that you would try to work up on paper, wouldn't materialize. So I didn't put much stake in it. And I just when I would get to the race, I would walk the track. You'd see how the jump faces were, the pitches, and what the soil was like. And that's, a little much more realistic than seeing it on paper. And
yeah, exactly. It's just like the first turn, for example. Okay, we look at it on paper, look at the whole track map on paper, and be like, okay, great, it's a left-hand first turn or it's a right-hand first turn. But you can't see what the radius is of that first turn necessarily until you get onto the gate. Okay, it's a left-hand turn. I'm going to want to be on the inside. Well, there's 11 gates on the inside that you can pick from. So what's going to be the best gate? You just know you're going to kind of be on the inside. And then once you get there, you're like, okay, tight first turn, or it's a big sweeper first turn. So you're able to see a lot of that once you get there. The track map for me, even with the technology today, like I don't think there's a lot you can really read into on the technology. As we watch Cole Davies go down in the first turn, we're watching the replay of Deegan getting shut off right out of the gate. Bad start for him. Basically comes around that first turn and last. He had some good rides coming from the pack, obviously coming from deep in the pack. Haiden did, but yeah, we not a lot of emphasis on the track maps. It's all when you get there, because like you said, the dirt could be frozen when they bring it in the stadium and now it's softer. It could be dry when they bring it in and they're going to water and things like that. So
yeah, and then Hunter asks, can the track builder foresee the track breakdown and the dirt they are using? Absolutely, they can. Yep. We kind of already touched on that. Yeah, for sure. They know if it's going to get rutted, or they know if it's going to be hard packed. They know what the dirt conditions are like most of the time, because they're using this same dirt at these venues multiple years, so they know it. And yeah, those guys are professionals at what they do, and they can do a hell of a lot better job than probably 99.9% of the haters or people asking questions or maybe don't agree with what they do. The guys are pros. They're aces at it. Yep. Moving along. All right. Getting into the meat of it. Chase Sexton. We're going to beat down Chase Sexton's, break down Chase Sexton's. I would say it definitely cost him another win. Before we get into the Boxo breakdown of that, Aaron, when we were kind of going through our notes and what we were going to talk about on the pod RV with you yesterday as well, I had ran across a clip on social media, and it was interesting. And I sent it to our group text, and I'm like, look, can we get this on the show tomorrow? So go ahead and roll it, my friend.
I raced to win. Yes, I knew I had the overall if I stayed where I was, but I don't really care. I wanted to win the race.
After listening to that soundbite, I think from a big picture standpoint, before we get into the Boxo breakdown point, what do you take away from that particular comment, RV?
I looked and watched all of the footage that was out there. As you could see him pulling off the track, sitting down on the corner of that berm, just trying to realize what had just happened. I know we've talked a lot about Chase and a lot about his mistakes, and it's a tough situation to be in his shoes. yeah, he's out there to race, and he's out there to win. Like, everybody's out there to do that. You know, and I have said it on the show multiple times, you know, wait till we get to the last round or the last few rounds and see how many of these points that he's given up from a mistake, you know, and multiple mistakes on Saturday night. You know, I don't even know really what to say other than he has to do better, and he has to clean those mistakes up, especially, I mean, with a guy like Coop that's just starting to stretch out the points lead like that. You know, like there was a few bonehead moves Chase pulled that on Saturday night that really put him in a bad position. That's really I mean, I know we keep beating on him, but it seems to keep happening.
Well, a couple things that I saw, that I took away from that, because, you know, like everybody tuned in today to our podcast, like RV gets hit up, I get hit up all the time. Dude, what do you think? Like, what's going on? I'm like, dude, I'm not inside Chase's head. I had no idea. All I can tell you is how I would react or what I would have done, having being in that circumstance. RV, you've been in them situations. I've been in them situations, and I think that we've handled them differently. Our results speak for that themselves. And we all want to win 120%. We all want to win. However, at the end of the day, if you tell me, hey, RC, if you go win 5 races, but you're going to get second in the championship, or you're going to go win 2 races for the series and win the championship, I'm taking, I'll win 2 races in the title. That doesn't mean anything about I don't want to win. You know how many times that I've been in a situation like what he was in this weekend, so I'm like, damn it, dude, I really want to win, but I'm like, nope. If I ride any harder and I go for this win, I have more to lose. Just that race win, not the overall. We're just talking about the race. I'm not gonna. If I fall, other guys are gonna pass me. I'm not gonna get the overall. It's just too much of a risk for the long-term gain. For what? One race, just to pass one guy. You had everything to lose and nothing to gain other than say you won that race. And I don't know. I don't have an answer for why he thought that way, because I feel like, again, I have high expectations for him. I'd said it a million times on the broadcast, because that's why we are hard on Chase, because he is the fastest guy, undoubtedly, in the championship right now. He talks, you know, he thinks of himself as one of the best guy out there. And with all that speed and all that talent and the incredible athlete that he is, that's why I think a lot of people that look at it like RV and I, because we expect a lot out of him. And I just think that's the wrong mindset. I just want to win the race. Well, yeah, Chase, we all want to win races, but you like to win championships too. You don't want to drag this thing on to where you have to win the championship or have to win the race at Salt Lake. Why put that much pressure on yourself? You had 0 wiggle room.
Yep. And you know, running into Coop's rear tire, you know, and going down, it happened again. He ran, as we're watching here, there's a replay right here. Coop just cuts down really tight. Chase had nowhere to go, hits his rear tire, gets ran over, but he also did it again too. Before this one, he did it coming across the start straight. That was
he hit Justin Cooper, right? Are you talking when he went down?
Yeah, well, he hit Coop here, and then he went down another time too, in the rhythm section to the left there.
That was Justin Cooper.
Justin Cooper, yes.
Okay.
Right here. So that's 2 times in one night, let alone obviously stalling the motorcycle again.
There you go. That's the one you're talking about.
I just don't know. I don't have an answer for those types of mistakes other than you just have to do better and not put yourself, like you said, just all out to go for the race win. You have to strategize those passes, especially on a track that was like Saturday night, where it was a little more, it was tighter. I wouldn't call it one line, but it was a tighter, and things funneled down in areas and a lot quicker in areas than typical other track maps or track layouts. But as we saw, hitting Coop, hitting Justin Cooper, and then stalling the motorcycle, those are 3 massive mistakes. I'm going to say it again. Go down to the last round. Let's see how many points he left on the table as we're watching him stall his bike right here while he was leading, or while he was ahead of Coop, his main competitor in this series right now. Those are and the mistakes. The worst part about it, the mistakes are they're totally avoidable.
Yeah, they're silly,
They're
aren't
totally avoidable.
they? Yeah, they are. I mean, I saw someone, like, I said something along the lines of, and I'd like to know you kind of answered it, but I'd like to know what your mindset is, RV, multi-time SX, 4-time SX champ. You like, so there's 10 races left. Okay, now you lost the points lead from Tampa. If you just assume let's just assume like Malcolm gets by him and he gets second at Tampa. And let's just assume like he gets second at Detroit, and the what he should have gotten had he just played it cool and not overridden, or you have these mistakes where you're like, where did that come from? Dude, he's lost over 10 points in the last 3 weeks.
Dude,
So
that's many points.
So what I'm thinking, and this is super, super important. We're looking at the points right now. Cooper Webb has a 5-point lead over Sexton, and Kenny is 19 points down. Anderson's 35 points down in fourth. So I go back to, and I want everyone to understand this. So in 2003 and in 2005 and in 2006, dude, I made up a bulk of my points in the first eight races, 8 to 9 races, a bulk of them. And then after that, I don't think I ever won a race past halfway. So essentially, yeah, did I win the championship because I was consistent? But I accumulated the most points at the beginning of the series and then just wrote it out. It's 10 times easier to manage a championship when you're not in a must situation where you're like, oh, I gotta go win.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. Like, dude, he's running out of time, and he's putting himself in a box to where he's gonna need some luck. And he's gonna have to go on a run, like you talked about it last week. That's what you wanted to see from him. Now he has to go out and win, rather than saying, hey, dude, you got this championship on lock, just get second the next 5 weeks. That's what I'm trying to say. Of like,
and
he's
let's
out of
be
time.
honest, there's other, especially with I'm just going to say it right here on the show, is I don't think he handles pressure the same way that Coop does, or that other racers that can manage being in that crunch time situation. We're not even in that. I mean, he's starting to enter that scenario of like the moment, the crunch time, 10 points down. Cooper Webb, his strongest competitor right now, he's the one that's leading. It's not like it's Kenny, where maybe you can, you can foresee maybe something happening or an off race. Like Coop don't have very many off races. Mm-hmm. And like that's the last position you want to be in as a racer, if you know that the pressure kind of gets to you. And I think, I'm going to say it now. KTM needs to go back to the damn drawing board and figure out if I know why Chase is stalling the motorcycle, but they need to figure out how to stop stalling it for him. I know it comes down to him stalling it, but they turn the idle up, do something. Like that's like the 5th time. And I know it's been on multiple manufacturers. He did it on the Honda. He's done it now on the KTM a bunch of times. They need to figure out something to, from that little falter, the crashing's the crashing. He's got to fix that on his own and making bad decisions in those areas. But as for stabbing the brake or stalling the motorcycle, whatever the case may be, why ever that's happening, they need to figure out some way to help him if he can't help himself stop doing that.
100%. I couldn't. Yeah, dude. Like you're nailing it, and it sucks, dude. Because I think he's a great guy. I think he's a great kid. It sucks having to make these calls, but that's the way it is. That's the way it is. And tell me if I'm wrong, right?
The spotlight's on him right now, right? Like because of the multiple times that he's been in this position, that we've talked about it way more than once or twice, of these mistakes that Chase is making. And you got Coop just kind of flew under the radar on the first 3-4 rounds West Coast. We get back to the East Coast and look at our situation that we're sitting right now. He's got a 5-point lead over Chase.
For the Boxo breakdown, This week, go check them out, boxousa.com. Fantastic tool company, best in the business. Again, I talk about it every week. If you're there in the pits, go check out. I know Star Yamaha is sponsored by them. They support Star. They got a killer setup. RV, they take great care of you, us, and they take great care of us here at Title 24. A fantastic partner. A lifetime warranty for all Boxo tools, and it's this super easy process. All right, producer question here. Did you ever go through a 3-race spell where you had to take a step back, reevaluate, get your head right, and go back out and win? For sure, I did. 99, went through it. 2000, I went through it. Dude, I didn't win squat in 99, nothing. And I wasn't even trying to win, producer. I was just trying to finish the races in 99 straight up. Absolutely straight up. Then in 2000, I'm like, if I can just get on the podium like 5 times and make the whole series, that was straight up. The end goal was make every single race of the series. That was based off of my 99 performance. That was it. Yeah, I had to regroup, and I did some serious soul searching in 2000. I ended up, I got several podiums in 2000 in Supercross. I won Daytona, but Daytona it's not a real Supercross RV, as you know. And so, yeah, I've been in that situation. It's unpleasant, but that's where you just have to you have to figure it out. First and foremost, you have to understand what you're doing wrong. If you don't know what you're doing wrong and you can't pinpoint that, then I don't think that you can fix it, right? Like if Chase doesn't know what he's doing wrong, then it's going to be hard for him to fix it. If he knows what he's doing wrong, then it's going to be easier for him to fix it. So, producer question, yes, I've been in that, and it is a tough boat to get turned around. And I can tell you from one of the current guys that I saw do it that was incredible to watch, RV, is I think that when Eli left Monster Energy Kawasaki and he went to Star Racing Yamaha, I I think that he became a different person. His races where he would just kind of like run around in 6th or 7th, those went away. His starts on an average got better, and you saw those beast most rides a lot more often, and those rides where you're like, what the hell was he doing there? He completely retransformed himself, I believe. Like, and other than him, like, totally transforming his career, it's tough to turn it around, I
It
think.
is, yeah, it is. I mean, I didn't have a ton of those once I got my footing in the 450 class, but '09 and 2010, I was kind of half-hearted into it. And what I mean by that is I wasn't as fit as I needed to be. Was I fast? Yes, but and I went out and I won. I think I won Seattle, Vegas, and then even in 2010, I ended up, winning Paula and then had to get my knee fixed. But I had to go back and reevaluate my whole program. The speed was there, the riding was there, the technique was there, all of that was there, but I just wasn't. I was half-heartedly in it, and that's also when the availability came up of Eldon, when James had let Eldon go. A good friend of ours, Paggio from Oakley, called me right away, and he's like, "Hey, Eldon's not working with James." I was one of the first people he called. He wants to meet in Paula. I met with him in the Oakley bus at Paula and hired him right there on the spot, and that changed the trajectory of my career. And
Perfect.
we all deal with something a little bit different. Chase is one of the fittest guys. He's one of the fastest guys. It's upstairs with him, which I think is even harder to change, right? Like, it's even harder to figure out how to work through that. The fitness side of it's very easy. Work harder, right? Just work harder, period. Learn how to suffer. And those are, I think, those are easier positions to work with than working with what's upstairs.
Yep. Before we get into Coop's incredible, I mean, yeah, the last race is wild, dude. It's just one of those RP. I mean, it's like, what in the hell just happened? But before we get into Coop's ride, a feel good story for Chase Sexton and the type of person that he is. Take the athlete aside. In Tampa, I had a bunch of guests there, and I had one particular person there that he had his grandson with him, and his favorite rider is Chase. And I'm like, oh man, I said, you're brave going and asking them for a favor on behalf of me. But anyhow, long story short, JH took him over there and he talked to Chase's dad and said, hey, can we get a picture with Chase? And dude, Chase was taking a nap, I guess. And he Chase's dad brought him over to Chase's motorhome, went in there, took a picture, and Chase, I don't know if he woke Chase up from his nap, whatever he did, and he took a picture with this kid, dude. And listen, I know we give Chase a lot of heat, but at the same time, this is the type of person that he is, and this is why I respect him as a person, amongst other reasons why I respect him. And I just like I want to make a public thank you to him and his father for doing that. I know it's race day; you got a lot on your plate, but you made some, like a lot of kids' dream come true. So that's the type of person he is.
Yeah.
That's why it sucks, like having to break down everything. But you know what?
No, it really does. I mean, I get tired of kind of talking about it, because
Yeah,
it's we keep kind of dissecting the same thing, and also very similar incidences throughout the last few weekends. And if or when he stops making those little mistakes that are very, very costly, he's going to be the guy to beat. It's not
Yeah.
going to be Cooper and him, because he's got the speed, right? If he
Yeah.
can get everything else right, he's one of the fastest guys behind the gate currently. And when the gate is filled with Hunter and Jet and the rest of Eli and the rest of the field, he is one of the fastest guys. That's the hard part from the fans' perspective, or my perspective, or yours, RC, is we kind of beat our head against the wall and we're like, dude, the guy is unbelievable when he's on, but when he's off, it's not. It's catastrophic.
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah, dude, like you said it best. You're tired of talking about it, and everyone who tuning in, Title 24, if you're a Chase Sexton fan, I know we're not, we don't have popular opinions, but the people who aren't Chase Sexton fans, you're probably loving what we're saying and our deep dive. But yeah, like every time it's like when we get ready and what we're going to talk about on the show, it's like, oh, dude, do we really got to talk about this again? It sucks. Moving along though, this guy, gnarly Coop, not a surprise for me. Honestly though, he looked like crap for sure the first race, like big time. And he just, like, his bike looked stiff to me. He just like completely different. He didn't look comfortable like he looked all night long in Detroit. So I'm like, oh boy, dude, you're gonna have a long night ahead of you. Everyone that watched the show saw how it played out. Typical Coop fashion, making do when things clearly looked like they weren't perfect like they were in Detroit. So it was a great ride. Listen, we talk about Chase and how he is in a situation where now he has to perform, but to make no mistake, because of Chase's speed, Coop has no wiggle room either. Like, he's got to go out there and perform, RV.
Yes, he does. He does. And the tough spot where Coop's in is when Chase is on. Chase has got his number from a speed perspective, in my opinion, on most conditions. So, but when you look back at Coop's track record of how he starts the season and mid-season and into the end of the season, like, he's there constantly. Is he there just fighting away, little chunks here, little chunks there, and look, he's sitting with a 5-point lead. After Anaheim 2, Phoenix, he was down in the roster there a bit on points, but look where we sit now, just because he keeps showing up every weekend and doesn't make a lot of mistakes. His off races aren't terrible, if that makes sense.
100% it makes sense. Yeah, I mean, not much to talk about more with Coop. I mean, dude, he continues to rinse and repeat. Going into Daytona this weekend. Listen, he's never won Daytona. I know personally that it is one that he definitely wants to put a check mark by. But honestly, RV, Daytona Supercross, everybody wants to win that. I say everyone, but great riders like yourself and Dunge and MC and Eli, the king of Daytona, they want to win. By the way, tickets are still available for Daytona Supercross. Go check it out. It's going to be epic. The weather's supposed to be great. All new design. So I think that if there's ever a time for for Coop to get it done, yep. I personally think this is going to be the easiest year for him to have a chance to win Daytona without Eli being there. That's right.
Yep. Got to get off the line, but it's going to be interesting. I feel like, going into just knowing Chase, knowing his riding, like if anybody's going to give him, if there's a place that he's going to give him a fit, it's going to be Chase. Chase is going to be hard to beat if he's on a Daytona because of his sheer speed and the way the track develops and the lines that develop. And you can ride Daytona. It's because it's not a typical Supercross track. You can ride it much different. So if there's ever a time to rebound for Chase, it's Daytona. And as we've always talked about, Daytona is like call it the halfway point of the series. And typically, statistically, if you go back and look, anybody that wins Daytona typically has won the championship in the end.
Yep. Stats show that. Yep, 100%. You leave Daytona with the points lead majority of the time, you're the Supercross champ. Majority, over. That's what the data shows. Great job, Coop. I mean, he's just got to stick to his guns, stick to his racing morals and his racing strategies, and hope that gets him to where he needs to be. He's made improvements on the whoops. We talked about it last weekend, and so I mean, we just got to let it play out. One thing though, I think that I personally believe he has a really good shot still at the title, even though he's what was he 19 points back, Kenny? Dude, with the up and the downs of Chase and Coop, like one weekend he's good, one weekend he's a little better than good, and then some weekends it's just off. I feel like outside of Tampa, I feel like Ken is the most consistent guy out there. He talked about how he needed a little more speed, but I haven't ruled him out yet, dude. He doesn't build it up as, he can win it, but I think he can with 9-10 more races going.
Yeah, I mean, statistically, right? From a point standpoint, he's still in it, and he is probably the most consistent. But he made that big statement, and we all can see it too. Like, speed has been, he doesn't have that all out sheer speed in these races. But with his confidence, his mental capacity, and where he's at just in his career, very, very consistent. It's not going to do anything super spectacular, but also not going to make any big mistakes. Like his big mistakes so far, where it was, what was it, Tampa, which wasn't his mistake, which is a bummer. Can you imagine if we get Tampa, get rid of that race for him? He got caught up with the lappers, lost his chain, so then he was pulled out of the race. And where would he sit right now without Tampa?
Yeah, he'd probably be the points lead, or he would have been the points lead going into this weekend, because we talked about that.
Yes. Yep. So it's a bummer to see that him in that position, but Kenny's he's just chugging along. He's right there. He's staying right there. The bike seems to be working well. Him on an emotional level there's not a lot of highs. There's not a lot of lows. I think that goes back to during his during the week program, his family, his kids, and just knowing, what he's good at and where he needs to be better. And it's just very consistent. So yes, from a mathematical standpoint, he's still in it. I think it's really, really good. I think it's going to be hard for any one of these guys to beat Coop. As we're looking at the points right now, Coop sits with 146, Chase Sexton with 5 down, and Ken Roczen, who we're talking about right now, is 19 down. So that being said, as we know, Chase makes the mistakes, which, if you're Kenny, you're gonna lean on those mistakes. And Coop, it is motocross, it is Supercross, right? Anything can happen. So if there is a mistake there, that 19-point gap from third to first could very well shrink, and and then now he's really in it for the long haul when it comes down to these last 5 rounds.
Hey, James T. Barnes 9. Kenny said he needed more speed. We were just alluding to that. What does he do this week to get that extra speed? So like if you're mentoring Kenny, like and you go out to the track RV, what are you working on with him or getting him to work on to try to get a little extra speed? Tell me what you guys
Yeah,
do.
so that's a tough question. Why I say that is Kenny has some really good sprint speed typically. Like he is one of the best sprinters. And then he's able to make quick passes and also when he gets past, he makes a quick pass. So it's to me, it's not his sprint speed, which is, I think, easier to work on than the longevity of the speed through a course of a 20-lap main event or a 20-minute main event. Sprint speed is very easy to work on. You can get out there, you can sprint an all-out sprint for 2 to 3 to 4 laps, whatever you're working on for those block of sprint laps. But from the longevity standpoint, I think that's or for the length of the race standpoint, that's a bit harder to work on. And also why I say that is kind of where his position of where he is in his life, like as we just watched, we've had quite a few guys go out this year with injuries. And I think where these riders sit today, the ones that are a little bit older, they're playing the long game in this thing. They know that there's 0 championship won when you're on the ground, period, along with getting hurt. And anytime that you set that thing on the ground, you have a chance of getting hurt. So go back. There's not much I would change, put it that way. Like, he's in it for the championship right now. He's got good speed, but yes, can he go back and work on it? Yeah, he can. But to bridge that gap mid-season is very, very tough.
Totally.
To bridge that gap to Coop or even bridge that gap to Sexton, which I think has the upper hand on Coop from a speed perspective.
Yep, 100%. A very, very similar situation. And you've probably been in this area too, James T. Barnes 9. An example would be like in my time in 2003, and it's like 5 and 6. Like, I had my speed and it was what it was. And I just had to rely on my tangibles in other areas, whether I was good at defense, where I would start, being consistent. On some nights I would be close to the fastest guy, but you got to remember, like, Bubs was faster than me majority of the time. Chad was really good, faster than me. Not as much as James was, but still like quite a bit. So I just had to rely on race strategy and just being there, right? So, and I feel like what RV just told you is that, yes, like, you don't want to throw it down on the ground. You have good intensity. You're great at starts. You're explosive at the beginning of the races, and you have consistency. And that's what you just have to rely on and hope that it works out for you on the average. He only got 1 point at Tampa. So you just have to assume, had that not happened, and listen, I know we race, blah, blah, blah. So all you haters, go ahead and pile on. But so, like, just big picture of things, he would have gotten at least 19 points. And that's where we kind of got he would probably be close to holding the red plate by now. So I think that there's a lot of racing left. It can work out well for him too, just because I think he's in his happy place,
Mm-hmm.
And RV, I would take your advice 120% of, you just go and you focus on executing what you do really well, and the rest is going to play out how the rest is going to play out. 100%.
Yep. And I think the biggest thing that Kenny can gain from that is actually during a race situation, right? If Chase makes the pass or Coop makes the pass on him, and they are, call it half second a lap quicker or 0.3 a lap quicker, is that right there in a race scenario is latch on to him and see where they're going faster, because that's the easiest way. During the week, Kenny's the fastest guy at the farm, typically where he rides, right? So he's riding with a bunch of other guys, but Levi's one of them, a 250 guy, and you can always set that carrot out in front, and you can run them down. But there's no replacing the actual racing and following and learning from guys like Chase or Coop that are going a little bit quicker. And that way you can really pinpoint where are they going quicker on the track. So, like Daytona this weekend, or any one of the races that are in our future that are coming up, if he puts himself in a great position off the line, off the gate, gets around the first turn, and happens to get passed by somebody like Chase, trying to latch on and improving your speed right then in that situation, I think you can see it over the course of 5 or 6 rounds. If he can do that, he will improve his speed throughout the main event.
R. Volmer 992. What's it going to take to have J. Coop learn to skim the whoops? He was able to do it on the 250s. I don't know if he was able to do it very well, compared to some of the guys on the 250. He did it enough to get the job done. But he's if there's an opportunity to jump, he was going to get the job done. RV's been doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. I think you just have to, number one, if the bike isn't comfortable, you got to get yourself comfortable to where it's going to give you the confidence, whether it's to go into the whoops a little bit faster. Most of the time, that's what it is. I mean, he's smart enough to pick the right line, whether it's the middle, the right, the left, what have you. So that's what I think it's going to take, is just a lot of repetitive practice. But at the same time, like what RV was talking about with Kenny, the more you practice those whoops, the more you put yourself at risk to falling. And I think where he's at in this stage of the championship, I think it's just, if the whoops are skimmable, go ahead and skim them. If they're not, just go to what's safe and you can do over and over. I think this is something for a guy like Coop. I think this craft needs to be practiced in the off season, because I don't think it's something as quick as, hey, go out and learn it and get better and you go into this weekend. You're also trying to, manage the rest of the track. It's a lot to consume. It's a lot to consume. I know Coop has gotten better. Cooper Webb has gotten better in the whoops since A2. He talked about it. He's like, dude, if you want to win, I have to be better at blitzing whoops. Cooper Webb has a ton more experience at the 450 level than Coop does. That's why something like this, getting better mid-season, especially in the whoops, would be a little more realistic for a guy like Cooper Webb, because he has that experience. So, right, our Beaumer, that's what I think. I think it was a great race for him. I mean, he's capable. Coop is capable of doing these type of rides. He got great starts. I just don't think he's been getting good starts this year. But he rode well. We saw him do it like that a couple weeks. One, before we get into the 250 and the Dunlop due diligence, RV, dude, how about Justin Hill? Were you teammates with him, or he's too young?
No, he's younger than I am, but grew up from, just south of Washougal area, right by Washougal. One of the most talented guys. I believe he's a West Coast 250 champion for Mitch, I believe. Back in the day. He said it. I've watched some interviews of Justin, I think he's 30, 31 years old now. And he says, if there's ever a time that I need to get my together, it's now. And, he's one of the most talented riders on the motorcycle track. And some people may not believe me or don't see that, but the guy is really, really,
he's got bike skill.
He's got a ton of bike skill and speed, for that matter. He was fastest qualifier. Fastest qualifier. He ended up, fastest qualifier, and then ended up fifth, right? So, on Team Tedder too, like a full privateer backed KTM team. As we're watching Justin right now, just, it seems to me like the or the East Coast tracks, a little more technical, are up his alley. A little bit more than maybe the West Coast tracks, but it's very, I mean, look, it's a little off topic to have him in the mix right now, meaning all I can say is he's riding damn well, I'm sure for him and the rest of the team, or even his family, it's like, man, where was this 3 or 4 years ago? Right. Like, and then the consistency, right? Like, you'll see one weekend where he's on and one weekend where he's completely off. But no, nonetheless, he's one of the most talented riders out there.
Yeah, dude has a ton of bike skill. I like you said it perfectly. And like, I like him. Like, when you see him in the pits, if you guys had never seen, been around Justin Hill, dude, he like swing by the Team Tedder setup. He is so cool. He's so down to earth, and it's just like
very chill.
Yeah, so chill. You see him like at track walk or whatever. You're like, "What's up, dude?" And I hate bugging those guys on race weekends. But it's like, just like want to say, "Hey, what up?" And he's like always super cool, has a smile on his face. And I mean, he's racing against guys who are best in the world. I mean, what he went over, didn't he? He's a police officer, right? He went to the academy and all that. Like, took a
retired. Went and got a real job, which was being a police officer, I believe, and then said, you know what, this ain't for me. I'm going to swing a leg. And that's what's even more impressive, like actually deciding to hang the boots up and going to get a real job and actually becoming a cop. And then, then being like, you know what, this ain't for me. I'm going to dust the boots off and go back out and ride and do this well. Like it's pretty amazing.
Hey, eventful weekend for Anderson. You saw him and Coop get they started beefing. What was it, last practice? I think I got to talk to Coop and Jason and ask them like what was going on. I think they worked it out. They buried the beef, but it was like from me sitting up in the booth RV, it just looked like it was by happenstance. Anderson was finishing his fast lap. Cooper Webb was starting his fast lap. Looks like Coop's bike kind of like kicked up and he wasn't able to stop fast, which ran him high in that right-hander after the finish line. Then they started going back and forth, had some words, but then I think it was the second race, maybe Anderson and Barsha got into it. And so we're watching some right here. I wondered where it kind of initiated from, but nevertheless, I mean, Anderson teed Barsha up on that right-hander after the finish line, and it was wild. So here you go. That's heavy, and that's heavy impact. Looking in Barsha's foot stuck in his back tire. Yeah, he got Anderson got warned by the AMA. So yeah, he was rough.
Yeah, a lot of action there. I saw the interaction with Coop on the track. To me, that was I don't think it was Coop necessarily coming in to start beef, but then obviously it happened. So Anderson's like, no, you ain't pulling that on me. If it was on purpose or not on purpose, regardless. And he ran it into the next turn, but after the sand into the turn there before that little double. But yeah, and then obviously Anderson and Barsha getting together, teed him up pretty good there. But what I like to see about it is there wasn't a lot of beef afterwards, right? Like you can have those run-ins on the track. You may not like the outcome of some of those run-ins, but it didn't escalate. And that's what I think is really good to see. That's obviously fans want to see action like that to a certain extent. I like to see action like that to a certain extent, but I also don't like it to stem into any other problems either right after the race or have it affect races prior into the future, right? Like, okay, now I got beef with you and we're going to Daytona and it affects Jason's race or it affects Barsha's race because all they're focusing on is getting each of them back. And being like, you know what, last weekend you got it coming this weekend. I think it doesn't do them any good for obviously the racing standpoint and points championship and overall standpoint. So I like how we had that action, but it got resolved and, we moved on from that.
Yeah. And championship guys, you know how it is, RV. I mean, you got to be a politic. You got to do some politician work. Yeah, that's right. A little bit, keep everybody happy. You're going to need favors and, those guys ain't no dummies. So they're going to make sure they know who can be loose cannons out there. So they're going to do the best that they can do. Those riders, those championship guys can do the best they can do to keep everybody happy. You know, so they don't need to make the job any harder. All right. So we're in fourth gear. We're downshifting to second gear to the 250 download. Haiden Deegan all the way this week, bro.
Yep.
Take it away. Tell me what you saw, big dog.
Definitely made a big rebound, right? Like didn't start the night off very, very well. Obviously he's had some bad starts, a couple little mistakes, but he was the fastest guy on the track most of the time. Put himself in a decent positions, but also came through the pack. He was able to come through the pack. So Haiden rode well. Juju obviously with a couple practice crashes and let's just call it an off night, maybe a little banged up. So Haiden did Haiden things, but I will say that for me, Cole Davies, the speed that we have been seeing out of Cole the last few weekends, and man, I saw a couple clips of him, a couple runs through the whoops from Cole were just really, really, really quick, really insane. So yeah, I think the boys have to be watching out for this before watching Cole. I think that's Cole right there. Make a pass on Coty Schock. And, Triple Crown just brings so much action, right? With 3 gate drops, there's just so much that can happen, especially with these younger guys. And consistency is just such a key thing on a Triple Crown night. And Haiden was able to be the most consistent and stand on top of the podium and get some pretty crucial points on Juju.
So doing a little Dunlop due diligence. Dunlop, by the way, you think they're going scoop tire at Daytona? What do
Yeah,
you
I
think?
believe we're going to see a lot of the scoop tire out there at Daytona. Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So go check out if you don't have a scoop tire and you're in sandy conditions, hit up Dunlop, go get you a scoop tire. Those things are pretty desirable, especially in the loose dirt. That's for sure. I get my 450, my TF 450 RC edition coming. I know I said it last season. I got to ride with one of those scoop tires, but I think when I'm down in Daytona, I'm just going to bring one home with me. That'll probably be the
Right.
best thing to do. So moving into it. So I was super critical and was expecting more. I think we all were out of Julien Beaumer. Sadly enough, he popped his shoulder out in that Q practice. As you can see right here, he comes up short. I'm guessing this is when it happened. And I didn't know that if that's when he popped his shoulder out, that's what happened. That's when it happened. But nevertheless, I didn't think he looked that great before that, my personal opinion. And so anyhow, we got some clarification, doing some research that's what's happened. Hate it for him. Hopefully, like it just popped out and popped back in. I hope it's nothing like, like the knee situation, anyone's knee situation. I find it hard to believe that if you don't have any damage and then you pop your knee out or you pop your shoulder out, that there's not some kind of damage that has been done. But again, I'm no doctor. So hopefully he'll be all right. Hated to see that because I think outside of Cole, he was the next guy to challenge Haiden. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I hope nothing else pans out. Do you have anything to comment about Juju or no?
I think that Hayden's been in these situations before. Obviously, previous years of racing for championships, having an SMX championship or two SMX championships under his belt. Juju being in position the first time of racing for a championship like this, and it brings a whole, as we all know, it brings a whole set of different circumstances and pressures. And yeah, just by watching, our replays that we're watching right now, definitely looked off. Was that the shoulder from previous crash, obviously in practice and popping that out. But yeah, he looked off, especially after dealing with what he dealt with in practice. And for him, I think in his position right now, never racing for a championship before, this is a huge learning year for him. So how can he rebound at Daytona? Can he rehab that shoulder enough and get back in the mix and come out swinging? And at least what I would hope to see is if he can't run Deegan's pace, Hayden's pace at Daytona, that he's at least sitting in that second position for the long-term goal of, next year, so he's dealt and put himself in this situation and pushed through those hard times. I know he's a little bulldog for sure. So I don't think the trying factor or the pain factor is going to be hindering him. It's just, can he ride to the ability and speed that he needs to fight for that win, between Haiden.
Yeah, hopefully be all right. Next race that they'll be at will be at Indy, and that's going to be a 250
Okay. Indy, yep.
East-West Division showdown. So that for some reason, you think about depth, RV, that's going to be a serious. I mean, there's some depth there. That's going to be a really fun race to watch. And it's going to be a huge opportunity for both guys, but all riders in the division, dude. All riders. I think that's going to be a big point swinging race for the West guys and the East guys. And dude, I think the man of the hour in the 250 class, outside of Haiden Deegan being back, said he's got that dog back in him. He changed a few things, got that intensity back. Coty Schock on that Club MX Muck-Off FXR Yamaha.
Yep.
You knew that it was going to come eventually. That was so special to watch, RV.
Yep. Yeah. He put some solid rides in last year on the Club MX, and this year, Triple Crown. What a better spot no better spot to do it is on like a Triple Crown and get your first podium there in Arlington. It's really cool to see, obviously from where he's come from. It's not like he was this factory rider and had factory rides and got his first podium. He's worked his way up into the position that he is in, and he's rode super well. you know, to put himself up on top of the podium for the first time ever. It's you know, there's no other feeling. There's no better feeling, I should say, than obviously sitting in the center up there where Hayden's sitting and winning that overall. But to get your first podium is huge. So now, what's that do for Coty's you know, confidence level and knowing that he can actually do it? You know, going in, he's had some very strong rides throughout, you know, the past couple of years, but really putting yourself on the podium and establishing yourself as a podium guy it's going to be interesting to see what he can do with that momentum now.
Yeah, dude, if you guys haven't checked it out yet, go check out Cody's podium speech. It was awesome. And I just loved it too. Like, cause he wasn't one of those guys. I'll be the first person straight up to say, I didn't really know who that guy was till like 3 years ago. But to watch his progression, he got an opportunity and he's made the best of that opportunity. Not a lot of guys do that. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for him and that race team for sticking behind him. And it's been fun to watch him. And he's doing it against a bunch of great guys. So I'm stoked for him. And you could just see it, RV. We've talked about it when you start running top fives and then you start like running up front in your heat races. Oh, and then you and then you get a heat race win. And then eventually, like, those top fives turn into top fours, and then those top fours turn into top threes and your podiums. And so, you know, he's sniffing a win here. If it's not this season, it'll definitely be next season. And by the way, he's racing the 450 class at Daytona. I like that play, but he's going to race it on his 250. I think just for
Okay.
I know he's going to a gunfight with a knife, but I think if he is, I think it'll be good for him to be exposed to those 450 guys and seeing how they race. I think that it is there is a lesson to be learned there that I think will make him even better than what he's been doing.
Yep, yeah, that's I didn't know that, and obviously, as we've talked about it a billion times on the show, starts are so critical. So going to Daytona and racing against the factory 450s on your 250, gonna be a tough situation off the line. But for the longevity of the 20-minute main event, you know, and to your point of learning how those 450 guys race, man, I hope him the best. It's gonna be tough with that power difference between the two motorcycles, but you never know. Like these 250s are so good these days. Maybe, you know, if he puts himself in a good position off the line, you know, it may work out for him very, very well.
Well, you definitely know the 250 is going to be less reactive to how rough that place is going to get.
That too. So maybe he's able to ride it harder for longer and
Yeah.
make some, you know, late moto passes and late moto charge on that 250 versus, you know, if you were to stick him on a 450,
Yep.
you know, and he's not used to it, and you know, the motorcycle is completely different.
Usable power. I think
Yep.
it'll be fun. At least it'll be fun watch. It'll be a race within a race. And then before we put a bow on the 250, hate it for Jordon Smith. That was a massive impact, dude.
Yes, it
Massive
was.
impact. Those whoops were really slippery. You could see right there. And what's crazy is he's one of the best in the 250 class through the whoops. The thing just goes sideways. That's because it was really slippery. He's going to be okay. He's banged up. I think he has a small little tear in his spleen, I believe.
Yeah, maybe a lung.
Punctured his lung and some ribs. So they'll get him bettered up. He's in high spirits. He's been riding well. He's bummed that happened. Obviously, I think he had a great shot at the championship. Not sure. I don't think anyone. I already talked about it. Other than Cole Davies, you brought up something very important. I think the only guy that had the speed to potentially run with Haiden was Cole. So I'm bummed for Jordon and bummed for that Triumph race team. Hang in there, guys. Jordon, hopefully you will be back. At least try to salvage some points for Indy. I don't know. I'm sure we'll know a little bit more on the next couple of days.
Yep.
All right, so here we go. Motorsports on NBC's YouTube community post we've been doing. This has been a lot of fun. How will you remember Arlington? Throw it up there, Aaron. Let's see. Okay, here we go. So our community post, YouTube community post this week. Here's your options. Cooper Webb's dramatic Triple Crown win. No, that's not that. That wasn't my pick. Haiden Deegan's come from behind wins. That wasn't my pick. Chase Sexton's costly mistakes. Well, RV, why you laughing, bro? Why you laughing?
Yeah. I just hate talking about it, man.
I know. That's right. Coty Schock's first career podium. I took Coty Schock's podium. That was my pick because everything, all the other options, some things weren't surprising, but not to say that Coty
Well,
Schock.
Ricky, I don't even think it's surprising, right? Like Haiden, I expect him to come from behind with his level, his speed, his talent, his mental capacity. Chase obviously is a big, a big one there, but the one that you have to put up on top step there is obviously Coty Schock's first podium, right? As we see, I think that was, we know he's like you've said it, a heat race win. Been riding very well, but to end up on the top of this, to end up with his very first podium, to me, I think I don't know, you won't call it the biggest shocker, but yeah, shocker. It's really good to see. I expect Haiden to come through the pack. I expect Cooper Webb to win, and I hate to even say that I expect Chase to make a mistake, but it seems to be happening. So when that got put as a topic, it's like, well, we've seen it in the past, so. Until he can fix it. So Coty goes down for me also as on top of that list.
You took good analysis, bro. Dude, hey, I think I've lost every single poll that we do. Every single community poll, bro. I think we've lost. And so I was sitting here as you were giving your analysis, I'm listening. I'm like, man, how, like, what, like no one ever picks what I pick. You and I are picking the same stuff most of the time. And I'm like, and it got me thinking like, well, probably because all the other options that you said, yeah, we know why it happens or how it happens. So
yeah,
makes kind of sense. All right, dude. Quad Lock question of the week. We had some really, really good questions. Go check out quadlockcase.com. They sponsor Haiden Deegan as well. I saw their sticker underneath underneath his visor there. So
yep.
he's on the team. All right. Role play the music, Aaron. The lucky winner of Quad Lock question of the week is David Huff, 26. David Huff, thanks for being a fan of Title 24, and thanks for submitting this question. It's good. Thanks for the interaction. David asks, what should be the primary focus of a racer? It seems speed is biting too many people. So take it away, brother.
Yeah. I think speed is the emphasis and focus on being the fastest every time you enter the track. I think is creating a situation that is putting people or riders in vulnerable situations. And why I say that is we're all bred, and it happened with URC, it happened with me, it's happened with everybody that's come through these ranks into the top. Is we focus so much on speed, which I agree is one of the main things that we all have. If you don't have speed, you have no chance at winning. If you have consistency, great, but no speed. Like speed is kind of the top of the top of the pyramid, and you need to have speed. But I made a comment earlier off air right before we started the show. Is we're lucky enough to race everywhere in the United States, where we have hospitals right down the road. But I used an analogy where it's like, hey, MXGP, they go to China, they go to Russia, they go to all of these different countries, some of them very third world countries. And the last thing these riders want to do is end up on the ground and getting surgery in some third world country where you don't speak the language and maybe the medical isn't the best. So why I said that is the longevity of a 17 race series. You have to know your limit and know when to be able to pour the beans to it, or pour the coal to it, or pull back for your safety, number one, but also for the point situation and longevity. You end up on the ground, you're not getting the points that you could have if you would have just backed it down, and instead of gotten second, you got fifth, but you weren't on the ground. So that's what I personally see, in the sport is when you pushing riding over your head or pushing too hard just for the sake of I need the speed or I have to blitz these whoops and you end up going down or something like that. I think our riders need to understand how long of a season it is. And I know I'm speaking more for the 450 side because I know the lights class or the 250 class is only an 8-race series, which is very short, which is very hard to get that. Think of it in that as your mentality of thinking of like, hey, it's a long season. Well, really, it's only 8 races, so we have to. Every race counts, and every race does count. But mistakes are taking guys out, and I think we just need to, sometimes know when to push that limit and when not to push that limit.
I think this along the same lines as RV does, David. What I look at it from a championship standpoint, just because I mean that's what I base my career on. I want to win championships, just like RV, and I second everything that he says, and I look at it as mindset, big picture, and consistency, and knowing when to pull back, knowing that you have to be there every single weekend, and knowing where that limit is, knowing when to take the chances, knowing not when to take the chances, and just being extremely calculated. You have to have a lot of self-discipline in a lot of those times, because not always is the perfect scenario going to happen. 9 out of 10 times the perfect scenario doesn't happen. So you like exactly what RV said. Just that's how I look at it. And it again, it comes from a championship standpoint. And I think it's again, mindset, big picture, and consistency. And like RV said, knowing when to pull back, knowing when to give it the beans, and being there each and every week, being reliable, and being in the moment, not getting ahead of yourself. And I think it's special. I think you have to have a special mental game about yourself to have those tangibles. Luckily for me and RV, we had them.
And I think you need to be able to think about call it like six or seven things all at once. Like we'll use Schmitty's crash for an example. Like he's typically he's one of the better guys in the whoops, but knowing the track, how it was breaking down and that the track was getting slippery, like you got to be able to manage your race and then also go as fast as you can. But then as the track's starting to break down, knowing that like, okay, I can't come into the set of whoops and just hold it wide open, let's say, and blitz through. Like you got to start to manage the race, keep your head on straight. And then also as the track's breaking down, like, okay, I got to start to come into these whoops, maybe a little quicker, but then get out of the throttle and get the RPMs down where it's a little bit lower. So the tire's not spinning so fast when it's grabbing the face of the whoop. There's just so many things, and I've talked about it before, like that are the separators from the greats to the good riders. Yep. The greats can almost see things happening and can make adjustments on the fly, where some of the good and really fast riders, I've used Hampshire as an example. And I think Schmitty, I'll use him as a very good example too, to go the speed that they're going. And sometimes that's all they can focus on is going fast, not, hey, the track's breaking down a little bit here. Hey, that kicker's starting to show up there. Like, hey, the whoops are breaking down. They're getting slippery. So now I have to change my technique mid-stride inside of a main event. And not to say you can't work on those things and get better throughout your career. But I think the ones that just kind of have it, like I consider Haiden kind of just, naturally having that and being able to make those adjustments on the fly. And some have to learn to make those adjustments on the fly.
Yep. Being and that goes to what RV is saying. It's like being super in tune. You basically you have a race plan. Yeah, you want to have speed. You work on all of that stuff, but you're super in tune with what you need to do for the weekend. You know how the track is gonna break down. You know what kind of soil you're racing on. You have to know every single line, where every single braking bump is. You have to know what your challenger is going to be doing, where he's going to be fast, and maybe where you won't be as fast as him. So you have to make time up everywhere. And again, just super in tune with what you can get away with from a traction standpoint, from front end to rear end, knowing that where
your bike's good, where's it bad, where you giving up time, where you're making up time. Like there's just many things that are running through your head or things that you have to think about in a main event situation. So
Yeah.
that's why I give all these dudes props. Like every
Yeah.
single one that line up on the line, just some do it better than others.
Yep. Yep. And they're all trying their hardest too. At the end of the day, it's just like, why'd you do that? It's like, it's not like Jordan, for example. It's not like he tried to bust his
No.
ass. It just, yeah. And I've said it before. In RV, you've worked with certain riders. You've had great mentors, great coaches, trainers along the way. Just good people that you relied on to give you the DNA that you have to be the multi-time one of the best champions ever to race a dirt bike in SMX. Is like you just you were able to absorb that and let it play out and make it happen given all the information that you had. And we can work with riders and tell them the same things that you and I were told. And then sometimes they're just not able to do it, and it sucks. But that's where I don't ever have the answer for, when you're giving that advice and coaching them to, like, hey, this is what I think you should do. You should try this. At the end of the day, they're responsible for their actions on the motorcycle. Only thing you can do is guide it. And some guys, like RV said, are better at it than others. And there's nothing wrong with the guys that aren't as good at it as maybe their competitors. So, dude, great question, David. That's why you are the winner of the Quad Lock Question of the Week. Also, David, you are a loyal listener, always bringing good questions, friendly questions, and nice comments as well. So again, thanks for the support, dude. That's awesome. And if you're ever around, look us up. We'll love to meet you in person. All right, Daytona preview. Oh, no. Sorry. I said I jumped ahead. I was doing so good today.
Yeah, no, we're good. We're good. Re-rack.
Re-rack. SMX on NBC this week. Throw it up there. All right, 3 p.m. Eastern time, SMX Insider with Weege and Thomas. Jorge Prado, full interview. We did an interview with him. If you guys watched the broadcast this past weekend in Arlington, you saw Weege and I had an opportunity to talk to Jorge. Great to hear him talk. Seems like he's in great spirits. So you'll want to see the full interview this week on the Insiders. Saturday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern, Race Day Live with JB and AC. They did a great job this week, but you'll be able to check out qualifying from Daytona and Peacock. 7 p.m. Eastern start because we are on the East Coast. Monster Energy Supercross round 8. Wow, it's flying by at Daytona. The toughest, most physical Supercross on the calendar. That'll be live on Peacock. Then we have Monday, 1 a.m. Eastern time, an encore presentation of Daytona Supercross on CNBC. So if you're working a graveyard shift, throw it on CNBC and check out it and check out replay. But yeah, those encore shows presentations are really cool. So that's what we got on the stuff for NBC this week. As far as now, we go to the Daytona preview. Top notch Davo. Do you think the breaks between East and West are an advantage or disadvantage or little or both? What do you think?
I mean, that all depends on the rider and how you left the race before the break, right? You'll end up on top of the winning circle, and you're on a run. Maybe you're like, man, I wish I wish we were just going to run this thing out. And now, if you have a little bit of an injury, you're dealing with something, you're banged up, or you had a bad night and you need to go back and regroup, and it can work into your favor that way. Typically, for me, I always like to just keep them going. Now that said, if I was banged up, twisted my knee, this or that or the next, it's nice to have that break, and it gives those younger guys a little time to regroup, and it's not back to back, because before they know it, they're going to be in that 450 class, and it's 17 weekends basically in 18 or 19 straight. So enjoy it while you can when you have those breaks, because when you get up to the big dog class, there ain't no more breaking.
Yep, I don't like the breaks either. I think RV said it perfectly. As for Daytona, what I'm looking forward to, listen, if you look at it from a bulldog standpoint on a motorcycle and who is in the field, you got to give the advantage to Chase Sexton to come in there, get a Daytona Supercross win, because I just think he is the fastest guy. So I think on paper he would be the guy. If you're a betting person, that's who you'd want to go for. However, I love the momentum that Cooper Webb has. RV, he definitely wants this. He wants to check this off the box for him, and it ain't no secret. His years of those opportunities are winding down. So I think, and this would probably be one of the easier chances. We talked about it at the top of the show that he might have to win the Daytona Supercross. He's in a great area. He's in a great spot right now, has a lot of momentum. I still like Chase Sexton this weekend for the reasons that I mentioned. And of course, Kenny, dude, he is right there as well. Another opportunity for them.
And just like Aaron had just said, no matter what happens at Daytona, we're going to have a first-time winner. And as everybody listening, Daytona, other than Anaheim 1 being what Anaheim 1 is, it's probably the most prestigious Supercross race to win at Daytona. Get your tickets because it's going to be a good one.
Yep, 100%. Absolutely. So can't wait to get down there. I'll be down there Friday. You are going to the Lorettaland area qualifier in AZ with Gage and Brax.
Yep, that's what we'll be doing. So we'll be back out on Thursday, hitting the road, and then we'll driving back Sunday night, and you guys will all see me back here Monday morning for the show after Daytona for our download.
That's right. Hey, congratulations again, not only to you and Kristen, but to Brax. That was really cool to watch you guys experience that. I'm pumped for him. And thanks for sharing the story. I'm sure our viewers and listeners love that. I'm just kind of chilling this week. It seems like the weeks are getting shorter and shorter as the season rolls on. Other than that, man, that's it. We got to always thank our sponsors, United Motorsports, Quad Lock Case, Boxo, and Dunlop. Thank you guys very much. You guys know where to listen to us. If you want to listen to the audio version only, we're on all the iPod applications. So get it where you want to listen to it. And then, of course, we're on demand on Peacock and all the time. So if you want to watch some previous episodes, you can go back and rewind some episodes and check that out. And then, of course, we are on the Motorsports on NBC's YouTube page as well. You can go there and watch our podcasts there as well. It's going to be exciting. RV, I can't believe after each podcast that we've done, especially the last 3 weeks, the content has been through the roof. And this is a freaking another one that was, there's just so much meat. So that's it for us, being RV.
That's right.
We appreciate y'all, and we will see you next Monday. I'll be on location, but you'll be in your studio. So
that's right. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. It's always a good time to have you on the show.
Hi, folks. Lee Diffie from NBC Sports here. If you truly enjoyed what you just watched, you can get more news, interviews, and highlights by subscribing to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube page. You can get it all, so go for it.